Humanity's home is no longer Earth. Interstellar travel is now a common occurrence, and technology has replaced blood and flesh. Luca, who grew up in the slums, has turned 15 and taken the selection exams. Can he become a part of the Imperial Guard? Or will he be brainwashed and turned into a killing machine? The scene opens with a group of people firing at someone. Bullets fly towards a trainee and he thinks he needs to get rid of the people posing a threat to the Emperor. There's no other reason for the existence of the Imperial Guard. He fires multiple bullets at once and kills them all. After completing the job, he heads back to the base. The technology developed significantly on the Earth, but due to lack of resources, it continued to get destroyed. In the end, life on Earth ended due to an invasion by an unknown alien species. However, the survivors of humanity wandered through space and found a planet similar to Earth after a long journey. Humanity decided to call this new planet Novus, meaning new home. They sent coordinates to this new home to all of space, inviting other humans. A Balado Federation was formed, where countless alien species mixed amongst the Earthlings. An empire was formed which possessed soldiers with machinated physiques. A holy alliance was formed with priests who possessed force energy. However, the resources were finite on Novus. As a result, humanity prepared for a war to monopolize the resources. The person comes back and the instructor tells the next person that he'll be subject to a lot of comparison. Hem says that they are supposed to show the majesty of what they are capable of. This day matters a lot for them. Luca replies that they'll see who will be the unlucky one then. Hem says if that's the case, then he should live up to the expectation, and Luca agrees. He thinks he needs to be capable of dodging and blocking bullets. It's a necessary skill to become an official part of the Imperial Guards. He has completed the simulation training in most extreme situations. He's a soldier with heightened spatial awareness, thanks to all the reinforcement procedures he has gone through. He enters the arena, and a few armed men come inside as well. He thinks his opponents are 5 death row inmates with cheap cybernetic equipment. He takes out his sword and thinks this would take only 10 seconds. He dashes forward and slices a person's head. The inmates couldn't even react to his speed. The remaining 4 surround him and aim their gun at him. Luca thinks this is an opportunity to make a good impression on the Emperor, so he needs to do something noteworthy. He wonders if he could replicate what the previous person did. He has never done it before, but he must make it happen here. He needs to heighten his senses to the maximum. The inmates fire bullets at him from all 4 directions and he blocks every bullet with his sword. Hem grins on seeing Luca's performance and thinks he's doing good. Luca finishes off all 4 inmates and swings his sword clean of blood. His nose bleeds because of overexertion, but he managed to surpass his limits. He believes this would raise his value. He comes back inside, and Hem is amazed to see him use ballistic trajectory control, which isn't in the curriculum. Luca replies that he just copied the style of the previous guy. Hem says that the guy he's talking about is from a renowned household. He was already taught the curriculum in advance. He is different from him as he belongs to an orphanage. Hem says he likes him and will give him a gift. Hem places his hand on his eye, and everyone panics as to what he's doing with him. Hem crushes his right eye and says he's not fazed at all. He has done great work on pain tolerance. Hem says that he likes him, and Luca replies that he's glad. He says that he would have taken his eye out eventually. He would get him an eye that would predict trajectories. Later, Lei visits Luca and introduces himself. He came here because he wanted to talk about something. Luca sits puzzled, and Lei apologizes if it's too sudden. Luca tells him to come in nonetheless. Once inside, Lei says that he was impressed by his skills back then. Luca says that he's in the wrong place if he wishes to exchange praises. Luca guesses that Lei is probably from a famous household by his aura. Logically speaking, there's no need for him to be aggressive to someone from a noble household. He should just say that he's tired for now. Lei shows him a pill and says he came here to give him this. It'll decrease his sensitivity, and he can rest better. Luca says that he doesn't need it. However, Lei insists that he take it and have some rest for tomorrow's training as well. Luca eats the pill, and a broad grin appears on Lei's face. He thinks that this pill is better than cheap ones. Luca further says that he was pretty good and he just copied him. Lei points to his mechanical eye and says that he could easily calculate trajectories with it. His actions were much more impressive since he pulled it off with just his instincts. It seemed like the commander took notice of him and is gifting him an eye from his pocket. Luca thinks that the nobility class is excellent, while the lower class is powerless. He can't let go of this opportunity as a lower-class citizen. Lei says that some guys failed the selection process. He bet that those people paid money to manipulate results. However, someone like him who doesn't have a backup never fails at the selection. Guys like him made it here with their skills. Luca wonders why he's telling him that all nobles are not excellent. He never considered this possibility and ponders about his motive behind this. Lei extends his hand and says that people like him should succeed. He'll be cheering him from now on. Luca shakes his hand and says that he'll do everything for the Empire. On hearing Luca say those words, Lei becomes a bit sad. Later, Lei takes Luca to the shooting practice. Luca points his gun and activates his new mechanized eye. He fires his shot at the practice body. All his shots hit the dummy's forehead. Lei says he managed to shoot all the targets in the head. Top students are of a different breed. Is he getting used to his new eye? Isn't it fair that he's this good with guns when he specializes in close combat? Luca says that it's natural for them to be good with all types of weapons. Also, he doesn't want to hear this from someone who managed to shoot every shot through the same hole. Lei says that his specialty happens to be weapons after all. Luca says that if he continues being so casual, then he'll surpass him. Lei says that he would welcome the challenge then. Just like he said before, he's rooting for him. The Empire needs people like him. The value of ability and talent is being diluted in the Empire. As long as one has status and power, even the powerless can become talented. However, if more naturally talented people like him start to appear, then folks will be able to tell who's good and who's not. Luca says that he is criticizing the Empire's system. If he reports this to the headquarters, then even he won't be able to get away despite being a noble. Lei says that he wouldn't do that in the first place as he's a good person. He hands him his gun and tells him not to worry so much. Soon enough, 2 years pass, and the final day of training arrives. Hem says that Luca and Lei will act as platoon leaders in this training. If any trainee has an issue, then they can stand up and leave. Nobody stands up and he resumes his speech. He explains that across the gorge, there's a Korite outpost that is illegally stationed in their territory. This training will test their ability in the field. He grows serious and says they should kill them all and shouldn't take prisoners. Lei says that this will be their first mission. Luca asks, why is he so nervous? He has killed so many people during training. Lei says that this is their first time facing an outside force. They all originated from Earth's humanity as ancestors, including them as well. Luca tells him not to get lost in the emotions. Does he think that the senior guards are here to protect them? The senior guards stationed at the place have full mechanical body armor. He's pretty sure that they are here to supervise them. They might kill them if they try taking people as prisoners. On this planet, other forces are bugs to the Empire. They learned this as everyone deceives the Empire for their own gains. Lei says that he knows it. That's what they were taught. He zooms in and sees a happy mother-child duo. Soon enough, the Imperial Guards kill the human and destroy the place. They shoot the remaining survivors without mercy. Luca thinks that no one is armed, and this training would end without a problem. Suddenly he notices a kid crying in front of him, calling for his mom. Luca thinks that the kid is so scared that he can't even move. He thinks he's a non-combatant with no resistance. If only he had a gun, he would have finished this off quickly. He then remembers his instructor's word to kill everyone. He thinks he shouldn't hesitate. These are insects who sap up the Empire's supplies. He strikes at the child with his sword, piercing through the rock as well. The sword just misses the child narrowly and he cries in fear. Luca tells him to play dead. Only then he would be able to live. He thinks he shouldn't do this. If the headquarters knows of his actions, then he doesn't know what they will do to him. He leaves the boy and wonders if he should go back and take care of him. Suddenly, someone shoots the kid in the head. An Imperial guard sitting on top of a building took the shot. Lei nods at him in disagreement, saying that he shouldn't leave survivors. Luca wonders if Lei was watching everything unfold. He tries to calm himself down and thinks Lei won't report his hesitation about killing a child. However, if any other trainee saw this, then it wouldn't be good. For now, he needs to keep an eye on Lei. Suddenly, an explosion takes place where Lei was standing. Besides Luca, a man is pointing in the same direction. He charges up for another shot and says they should go to hell. Luca notices him and wonders if he caused that explosion. Suddenly, Lei jumps from the building and onto the man. The man, without looking behind, blasts explosives on Lei. Luca thinks that he's a force user who doesn't need a weapon. The man says that this wasn't a base, but a settlement. The people they killed were doing their best to live. Luca wonders if the instructor knew about this. If had he told them in advance, Lei could have survived it. He rushes forward at the man and thinks he can dodge the explosions. The force user's nose starts bleeding from exertion. Luca also reaches his limits. He thinks he needs to maintain the high-speed maneuver and attack him in this state. The man blasts an explosive at Luca. Luca dashes forward with his sword and strikes the man. The man on his last breath charges up the attack on Luca's face. His head armor begins to break and he wonders if this would be his death. However, the man hesitates to kill him as he sees him to be a child. Luca quickly uses the distraction to kill him. After killing him, he pants heavily. He thinks he would have died if that man went through his attack. These people have a deep hatred for them and the Empire. So why did he fail to kill him? He thinks he shouldn't let his emotions consume him during the battle. He believes he's doing the right thing as this is for the Emperor's safety. More screams echo in the place, and he thinks this is why Imperial Guards exist. The scene shifts to the recovery room where numerous pods are lined up. Lei asks how it felt when he was about to die. Luca replies that he should be concerned more about himself as he almost died. Lei replies he got new arms and legs and asks if they changed something in his body. Luca replies that his back was destroyed, so he got titanium bones and artificial skin. At this rate, he'll end up with a completely new body in a few years. Lei says the boss must have known there was a Force user. The reason they weren't told about this was that it was a test. Luca agrees. The seniors didn't help them as well. He finds it weird that he and others who got blasted by Force attack, but survived it. That's a little too odd to say it was a coincidence. Luca says that maybe the Force user didn't intend to kill them from the start. He remembers the moment when he stopped after seeing he was fighting a kid. He thinks he's a warrior, and letting him live was a mistake on his part. He'll make sure to kill every one of their kind. Lei asks why he closed his eyes on that Korean girl. Can he tell him the reason behind his action? Luca replies that he talks too much. That was a mistake on his part, and will never happen again. Later, a man says that they have now completed 2 years of their training. There will be juniors, so they should set an example for them. He especially instructs Luca and Lei as they are the top 2 students in the class. If they keep doing the work, they can become a centurion. They both reply affirmatively. Luca explains that there are 1,000 guardsmen in the Imperial Guard, consisting of centuries, and their commander is called Centurion. The man leaves and says they can continue their training. Luca thinks that cadets like him are assigned to the lowest-ranking century. If he could become a centurion of that century, then he'd consider it a success. Later, Luca and Lei are sparring with each other. Luca defends Lei's attack and Lei follows up with one more hit, pushing Luca back. He thinks that Lei got stronger after he got his new arm. As Lei charges forward, Luca kicks him in the legs, knocking him out of balance. He then stops his fist just a few inches before, and proclaims that he won all 124 rounds. Later, Lei says that he thought he would win this time, but couldn't. He asks if that centurion speech riled him up, as he has become more rigid now. Luca agrees, stating that he would be seen as an Imperial Guard, so he must become strong. Lei suggests that he takes it easy. Luca replies that he has nowhere to return if he doesn't become a full-fledged Imperial Guard. He needs to keep climbing the ladder. Luca further says that Lei, you have talent but lack drive. He wants to know why he still wants to become a guardsman. Luca asks if he looks at him that way. He's right to some extent, as he wanted to become an archaeologist who studies ancient civilization. Luca asks why he isn't pursuing his real goal. Lei replies that studying ancient civilizations is banned in the Empire. He asks if he's sad just because he can't do what he wants. Unlike him, countless people aren't guaranteed to live another day in slums. Lei says that he knew he would say something like that, since he's a friend, so he shared his secret with him. Luca suggests that he be careful. If others report him for this, his life will be ruined. Lei says that he won't tell the Emperor, just like he kept his secret back then. Luca replies that he only hesitated because his opponent was non-combatant. Even if he didn't interfere, he would have killed him anyway. He's loyal to the Empire as they noticed his talents. The enemies of the Empire are his enemies. He tells Lei that he's no exception to that rule. Lei jumps down and says he's a liar. If what he said was true, then he would have tried to kill him already. He suggests him not to push himself too hard. The scene shifts to their 3rd year of training mission. Lei places his hand on an arcane site and says there's still an energy response despite being millions of years old. He is fascinated by the idea that multiple civilizations explored stars before they existed. Luca thinks that he drew the line earlier, but he doesn't hesitate to cross it. He tells Lei not to be reckless. This is a reconnaissance mission, and they will have to fight if they meet another force. Lei tells him not to be worried. Even if they can't beat them, seniors will help them. A team member says that the present exists because of the past, which helps them predict the future. If he looks at things that way, then many people are interested in history. Luca thinks that Claude doesn't come from a noble family, but still has a well-respected family. Claude tells Luca that he likes him and asks if he's seeing anyone. Luca considers it a threat and gets on the defense. Claude tells him not to be worried. He was thinking about introducing his little sister to him. Luca replies that he's from the orphanage. However, Claude says that it doesn't matter. The way things are, he'll end up as his superior. He says that his sister is cute as well. Lei nudges Luca and says he's quite popular. Suddenly, they sense something in their surroundings. They put on their helmet, and Lei says that his group will provide cover from the rear. Luca agrees and says that he'll fight in front. He looks ahead and sees a person standing in front of a shining object. He looks closely at the person and sees that he's a Korite paladin. The man notices their presence, and they try to hide themselves behind the trees. He then gets his weapon out and prepares to launch it. Luca screams at Claude to run. The man fires his weapon, piercing through Claude. The man calls back his weapon, and it comes back obediently. Luca sees Claude's corpse and thinks he was about to introduce his sister to him. He only remembers seeing the spear glow, and then Claude's upper body was gone. He tells his eye to calculate the trajectory of his weapon. However, his eyes keep showing errors in calculating it. Suddenly, someone fires shots at the man, but he defends himself with a shield. Luca's teammates tell him to get a grip on the situation. He shouldn't just stand there. He needs to fight and stall for time. Luca thinks that Lei is correct. If he tries to run, then he won't be able to escape this situation. The only way out of this is to fight him until the Imperial Guards get here. He knows that the Imperial Guard must be watching them just like the last time, so they will get here soon. The man readies his weapon and fires it at Luca in microseconds. He defends himself but gets hit in the face. His mask breaks and he thinks even stalling for seconds is too much. Within another fraction of a second, the man launches another attack at Luca. He looks at their spear and wonders if he'll die here. He then remembers his instructor's words that he would be slaughtered like a pig if he gave up. If they turn back on the enemy, then they receive a bullet to their head. If the enemy swings their blade, then they should do the same. Luca, now with determination, parries the attack. He thinks he needs to attack him first. An explosion takes place and his teammates worry for him. Luca's weapon splits into halves and gets impaled in the ground. He thinks he can't use his hand anymore. However, he managed to block the spear. Now, he needs to prepare for the next attack. The man uses his sword next to slice his opponent. Luca tries to dodge it, but his hands get chopped off. At the same time, the man deals with Lei and his two members. Lei's hand gets sliced off while others die from the slash. Luca thinks that he isn't going for him, but for his teammates instead. The man then dashes towards Luca to kill him, and Luca readies himself to face him head-on. At the same time, the Imperial Guard stationed there uses his booster to rush for their aid. He manages to catch up quickly, and sees Luca and the man going against each other. The Imperial Guard grabs the knight by the head and smashes him onto the ground. He then activates his booster and gives the knight a good taste of the ground. He smashes him against the arcane pillar, making a huge impact. Luca looks in astonishment at the amazing capabilities of an Imperial Guard. The Imperial Guard soon emerges out of the shadow, looking fierce. Luca slumps down on the ground and feels relieved. As the Imperial Guard was leaving, the knight stood back. The guard looks back and sees that the knight is up for the next round. The guard takes out his weapon from the back and glares at him. Luca also approaches the fight scene. He thinks that he's wearing the weapon of Empire called Legion. Also, he's up against a holy knight of Karit who uses force powers. They start sparring again and Luca wonders which side will be stronger. They soon take the fight in the air and wreak destruction in the nearby forest. They both exchange blows after blows. Luca thinks that they are so fast that he can't even track their weapon with his eyes. He prays that the Imperial Guard will win this. The knight defends himself against the attack and destroys the Imperial Guard weapon in the counterattack. The guard then grabs the knight's face and uses his booster to send him to the ground. However, he doesn't budge and signals his weapon to be brought up. The spear which was impaled next to Luca begins to glow. He thinks that the Imperial Guard has no idea about the speed and power of the spear. He'll be unlikely to react to it. He believes if the Imperial Guard dies, then they all will die too. He has to do something now. As the spear leaps up, Luca uses his leg to change its trajectory and it cuts his leg. He hopes that the spear would miss the Imperial Guard. The guard notices the spear coming and stops it with his hand. He then smashes the knight on the ground, making a large explosion in the whole forest. Luca lays restless on the ground with his two limbs detached. He wonders if the Imperial Guard survived it. If the Karit knight killed him, then this would be his end. He prays that he makes it out alive. The Imperial Guard comes over to him and says he did a good job. He was able to take down the knight thanks to him. He asks if he has a wound on his abdomen. Luca replies he was hurt when he tried to dodge his force slash. The guard extends his hands and says that he'll assist him. They'll return to the base now. Luca thinks that Legion is full-body mechanical armor that the Empire bestows upon the Imperial Guards. They remove all the parts unnecessary for combat, creating an ultimate weapon. Every trainee dreams of receiving a Legion, as it's the testament of an Imperial Guard. He notices that the Imperial Guard saving him has his head missing. He can't believe how he's alive. He asks if he's a machine or a human. The Imperial Guard checks his head and sees that it's gone. He starts panicking over it. He slumps on the ground along with Luca. Luca says that he was striving to become a monster like this all the time. He thinks that his body is getting colder and wonders if he'll survive this. Lei shows up and asks if he's still alive. Luca is glad that he survived, and Lei says he managed it barely. He asks about other team members. Lei informs him that everyone else died. He asks how bad his wounds are, and Luca replies that he'll die soon. He asks Lei what he plans on doing now. If he looks ahead, he can see the life he wanted all the time. In that direction, he can find what isn't in the Empire. He's alright, and if he wants to go, then he should. The reinforcements will arrive soon. Once they meet them, they'll return to the Empire. He suggests Lei to go now, now. Lei gets up and starts leaving. Luca thinks about the time they spent together. When Lei told him about his dream, he saw him happiest of all time. He hopes Lei will live as he wished. However, Lei comes back and places a cloth on Luca's wound. Luca asks what he's doing. Lei replies that he was worried that he might die. There would be no way that he'd be able to live guilt-free if he died like this. Luca sighs and says that he's an idiot. Later, Luca makes a quick recovery and reads a book. Lei comes suddenly and asks if he's looking for new parts. He recommends him the F-24 model, which is better than what he was using before. Luca puts down the book and tells him to stop giving him surprises like that. Luca thinks that after he returned to the Empire and completed his treatment, he was called to different departments for investigation. They wanted to talk about the case where 3 cadets and an Imperial guard were killed. He thought they wanted to investigate further, but he was called for other reasons. Lei says that they found an artifact at the site where they went. There are plenty of arguments as to who has the ownership over it. Luca felt that as well. The floating cube was the reason that the Korite Knight showed up. He asks who's retrieving that cube. Lei replies that a specialist team is made for it. If the Holy Alliance refuses to give up historic sites and artifacts, it'll cause a huge war. If the Empire were to go to battle against Korra, then Balada would profit just by watching them fight. That's why small-scale battles are taking place, so they can tolerate losses. Luca says that he's not the type with brains. He fights when the order comes. That's what the Imperial Guards are supposed to do. When he reported that one team member's head blew off, the instructor said it was caused by the phantom phenomenon. However, he believes it was something more than that. There are still many questions left unanswered. He didn't look further because the headquarters would have refused them. The scene shifts to the visiting room where cadets meet with their friends and family. He never thought he would have to come here as he's an orphan. However, he's here because Claude's sister, Lily, called him. He wonders if she wants to question him about Claude's death, as he was the leader at that time. Lily says that she isn't here to express hatred towards him. The moment her brother became a member of the Imperial Guard, she was expecting such news to come eventually. She's here to see him for a different reason. Her brother talked a lot about him, saying that he was the best among the best. Claude asked her if she was interested in him. He must have heard it from him as well. Luca says that she seems to be quite interested in meeting him. She asks if there's something wrong with it. Luca says he doesn't know much about her and why she chose him. She replies that her dead brother asked her for it, so doesn't that make a good reason? She believes he'll benefit a lot from this. Plenty of people would be jealous of him. Luca thinks that he has no reason to refuse this offer. Getting an opportunity to marry a woman with a good background is a golden chance. If he can get married to a noble woman, then he'll get closer to his goal. However, he feels that this chance is too easy. That's why he feels more reluctant to refuse her offer. Luca apologizes and says he'll have to refuse the offer. He leaves the table and says goodbye like a Chad. He used to think that Lei had such a good background and found the idea of escaping the Empire stupid. However, he understands it now. He almost made a dumb mistake based on a feeling. He's sure that Lily will take this as an insult to a noble. He hopes nothing tiring will happen from this. Suddenly, Lily grabs Luca's hand, stopping him from going away. She says that she must have rushed it, so they should start with being friends. Luca replies that's not what he meant. She leaves quickly, saying she'll come back soon. He looks at his hands, which held Lily's hand. He thinks that it will be hard to get her off his back. Later, Luca goes into the physical training room. The instructor Kin says that he didn't expect him to show up. Luca says that he wants to learn from him. Kin says that if he wants to learn fighting, then there's nothing he can teach him. There are very few cadets he remembers that surpass his skills. Luca says that there are still people stronger than him. He's not satisfied with being the best among cadets. Kin says that there's no need to rush himself. Luca thinks that he got his new arm, which is 10 times stronger than the previous one, but he still lacks full body augmentation. If he can't win against an opponent like Kin, then he won't stand a chance against someone as strong as Korra Knights. He thanks Kin for this opportunity, and Kin replies that he left him no other choice. Kin tells him to bring it on, and Luca brings in a fist. Kin blocks his attack and asks if he wants to test his new arm. Luca thinks that he's a retired Imperial Guard and wouldn't have flinched from these attacks. He begins a full-on assault on Kin. He thinks he needs to jump to close the distance and finish things quickly with a strike. Luca grabs Kin's arm and prepares to use his other fist. He believes he will win this time. However, Kin, being more experienced, tosses him into the air. Luca wonders why he's in the air. His attack should have struck him. He rushes again and says that this won't stop him. However, Kin grabs his kick and tosses him back into the air. He rolls on the ground and wonders what just happened. Kin says that he failed to gauge the strength of his opponent. He let his mind get distracted by something else during the fight. He asks why he's in such a rush. Luca thinks his first attack should have struck Kin's chin. However, as soon as Kin touched his arm, he felt delusional. His body staggered and lost control. He couldn't understand what just happened. Kin says that it's his self-defense method. Luca gets up suddenly and asks if he could learn that too. Kin shows him his shivering hand and asks if he still wants to learn it. There's always a price to shortcut. cuts. He asks Luca what he learned from that battle. Luca replies that he felt his body moved on its own and got out of control. Kin says that his type of method is called Archi's combat. Luca says that it sounds like a move that a thug will use. Even though the name is weird, the move is good and should be implemented in the military. Kin says that they considered it, but this method had 3 problems. Luca correctly guesses first that it's hard to learn, and Kin says that he's smart. He asks what he thinks about others. Luca guesses that the brain problem he's experiencing must be one of the side effects. Kin says that he can't tell him the last reason. Luca says that he's willing to take risks to learn it. He tells him not to do that, as he's already an asset to the Empire. Does he know how much money has been poured into him? He says that Archi's combat causes brain problems. If he teaches it to him, he'll have to take responsibility. Luca thinks that it's a good opportunity, but he'll know if he lies. Luca says he can't promise him, but he'll do his best not to use it. Kin pats his shoulder and says he likes his honesty. Later, Kin tosses Luca away, stating that he should anticipate all kinds of attacks from him. He should be ready for any situation. He tells Luca to get up, saying he likes fast learners. Later, Lei gets concerned for Luca and asks if he's getting proper sleep. Luca, with dark circles under his eyes, says that he's busy these days. He thinks it has been almost 1 month since he started sparring with Kin daily. He kept saying that he needed to watch and learn on his own. The Archi's combat method was vastly different from what he had learned. Most combat methods focus on honing a skill, while Archi's combat seems to make the most out of his other skills. It feels like a superior combat algorithm, and he gets to pick the efficient fighting methods in seconds. He asks Lei how his mission was. Lei replies that it was boring. He only had to get rid of a malfunctioning android. All the recent missions he has been receiving are like child's play. Luca says that Karit is being careful after the last incident. Lei says that's not the case. He heard some stuff from his family. Luca asks if Chief Centurion steps in, then won't it be a rebellion? Lei agrees that a group of people plotted a rebellion, but he doesn't have the details. Luca thinks that they are already at war with the Karit Alliance, and now some idiot wants to start a civil war. Lei says that if he calls these problems stupid, then he'll rot from inside. Luca pins him against the wall and says he can overlook it if he wants to leave the Empire. However, if he wishes to be an enemy of the Empire, then he can't leave. Lei says he won't do that as he passed the test for the Imperial Guard. He suggests him to calm down first. Luca suggests that he doesn't make statements that incite suspicion. He doesn't want to see his name on the rebel list. Lei says that he only talks about this in front of him. He should lighten up a bit and he'll treat him with food this weekend. Luca says that he has plans and he shouldn't talk to him as he's annoying. Lei follows him and asks if he has plans with a girl. Later, Kin and Luca go to the lower sector in disguise. Kin says that he must be familiar with this place as they both came from here. Luca says that he never expected to come back here once he became a trainee. He sees 2 idiots fighting and thinks that Kin didn't tell him that they would be coming here. The city is foul. All the waste and heat is released in the lower sector. In his childhood, he knew he had to get out of there because he would have ended up being a loser. Kin tells him to follow him along. Kin takes him to the black market and he asks if this is his first time. Luca says that there were quite a few kids who never came back after visiting this place. He feels that Instructor Kin is quite knowledgeable about the lower sector's layout. Also, Kin ordered him to use low-energy prosthetic arms and legs. He wonders what he's planning. Suddenly, Kin tells him to get ready. They approach the entrance and 2 men stop them from entering. Kin says that he just needs to talk with the supervisor of this establishment. The man asks if he knows their boss. However, Kin replies that he doesn't know him. The man then points his gun at him, telling him to scram off. At that moment, Luca tackles the man onto the ground. The other man, after seeing intruders, reaches for his gun. However, Luca takes the apprehended man's gun and points at him. The man raises his hand, and Kin says that he must understand now the situation they are in. Can he bring his boss now? The man takes his buddy inside, and Luca asks what he would have done if he wasn't fast enough. Kin replies that he would have searched for another way. Luca asks what this place is. Kin says that this is the hottest place in the whole empire. It's called the Colosseum.